3 options. So here are your options for your background information. First one, you can watch the video and answer the questions on the side. Your second option is you do have a text that you can read that also has audio, so you can read and listen at the same time. Just make sure if you choose that option, you answer the questions that are next to that text, okay? Finally, at the very bottom, you also have the same option of the text, except it is in Spanish, okay? So you have the Spanish option, you have the reading text option, and you also have the video option, okay? You only have to do one. How many? Okay, and again, this is just to get background information on what happened with the Mexican-American War, okay? So go ahead, flip your screens around. I'm gonna give you about 10 minutes. Choose which one you would like to do. So UDL is a lesson planning approach called Universal Design for Learning. The concept behind it is that you have a lot of learner variability. And within learner variability, when you're doing your lesson planning, you want to think about all of your students. And when you're thinking about all of them, you think about the barriers that's in your lesson that you know might keep students from being successful. And then once you have those barriers and your goals are very clear, then you start thinking about, okay, what supports can I give? Supports and options can I give to all of my students so that all of them can reach the goal? I know I have some students that prefer video options, prefer reading, and prefer audio. And I also have students who prefer maybe things in different languages. So I had to consider all the different variability that I have in my class with my EL learners and with my students who are visual learners to give them the options to overcome that barrier. Please go ahead, take a minute with your partner, discuss what do you think? Why did America go to war with Mexico?
And the manifest destiny was one of the problems. They also annexed land. America also annexed land from Mexico, which caused the big treaty of Guadalupe. And then the Mexican secession was also part of it.
My first learning goal was to have students get background information on the Mexican-American War so they could identify a cause of the Mexican-American War and develop an initial claim. My second goal was for them to analyze primary sources so they could find textual evidence to support that claim. And then my final goal was to write a short response using that textual evidence so they could show me what they believed was the cause of the Mexican-American War. So this is where we're going to be recording all of our analysis for the rest of the week, which we're going to be answering the question, why did America go to war with Mexico? So after looking at your secondary source and talking to your partner, at the very top where it says initial claim, we're going to go ahead and tell me what is your initial claim. How would you answer that question? Okay. There is a sentence starter here that says America went to war with Mexico because. You're welcome to use that, but if you would rather start it your own way, you're welcome to do that as well. Okay. So 2 minutes, please go ahead, write your initial claim. Some barriers within the lesson that might pose as a barrier for my students in achieving the goal. In the first one, it was really representation. I was really the idea of, is the presentation of the content going to be a barrier for my students comprehending the content? So I wanted to make sure I gave them options just because I didn't want to stop them from getting that content if it was a reading comprehension issue. So that was really the first barrier there, was the presentation of the actual information. For the source analysis, the barrier in that case was just the fact that it was multiple sources. It was up to 6 sources. So that was going to be a barrier for them, and also unfamiliar language or the vocabulary that was in the sources were also going to be a barrier. And then just writing an argumentative structure was going to be a barrier as well. Before we do our activity, I want you guys to become familiar with the terms before we are actually able to do them in the activity. So for your vocabulary, you have a Quizlet link that is in Google Classroom. I want you to use that to access the vocab that is titled The Mexican-American War. What is it titled? Okay. Now, when you open it, I'm going to give you about 4 minutes. You may choose whichever activity you want to do to become familiar with those terms, as long as you're working on one of those activities for 4 minutes. Okay? So again, you choose the activity, but please make sure you're working on that vocab for the next 4 minutes. Another option when it came to vocabulary was on Quizlet.com, they have a lot of different activities that students can use to engage with vocabulary. So I let them choose which activity they want, whether it was flashcards or learn or match, whatever one they chose. They can use that as long as they were getting familiar with their vocabulary. When it came to our primary source analysis, I gave them options in their roles. So I said, you get to choose what part you want to fulfill as long as you guys are working together to meet our goal. So first in your group, I'm going to need somebody who is going to be the reader. They will read the text aloud when it is needed, okay? Second, I will need somebody who is going to be the questioner. You guys will lead your group in discussing the analysis questions.
They want to steal California from Mexico and make it a part of the United States. Before the war, they wanted to buy California from Mexico, but Mexico wouldn't sell. So now they are making war on us that they can take it away. I fear that I will lose everything I worked so hard for.
I believe it's conquest because of the part where it says, before the war, they want to buy California from Mexico, but Mexico in itself, so now they're making war on this so they can take it away.
When it came to engagement in the primary source analysis, I know I have strong readers in my class. I know I have strong argumentative students in my class who are great at finding evidence. I know I have students who are great at managing, so the timekeeper and the vocabulary finder. And I also know I have students who are very good at writing. So I decided to just take advantage of that variability, embrace it, and use that to engage them in the analysis. All right, so for our final part of our lesson, this is where we're going to be doing our argumentative short response, okay? So you are going to be writing argumentation, and you do have an option of how you actually write that argumentative response, okay? So your first option is to do it online on our formative.com. So if you prefer to type out your writing, this is option 1, okay? Option 2, if you prefer to write it by hand, you're going to be doing the paper handout. So I do have a paper available. It is the same thing, okay? So you can either type it or you can write it by hand, okay? Both options include the same things. They both have our outline for argumentative writing that has your prompts and your sentence frames, okay? Both of them have your sentence starters that are available in English and Spanish. We have our word bank on both of them to give you ideas. And for both of them, you will be doing self-assessment, peer feedback, and teacher feedback, okay? So really, with the writing, the learner variability I considered there was the fact that I know I have students who prefer to type and get immediate feedback in that situation versus I have students who are very tactile and like to write things by hand. I do find when I give students options, they are definitely more engaged. There are students who prefer to do certain things over others. And so when you just give them that option, it increases motivation, it gives them purpose, and they are engaged in what they are actually doing. Okay. The only thing I want to point out is that when you're doing your quotations, just make sure we put them at the end of them too. Oh. Okay.